Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ninth episode of Coffee with Ashish Season 2. And today we have got a special guest with us, Aditi Balbir, a CEO of V Resorts. I think before getting into conversation with her, we've talked about the theme of sustainability, ecotourism, alternative accommodation on our show, even in the previous season. In fact, if some of our viewers might recollect, we have had Mr. Mandeep here and Ms. Mohan who talked about how this whole niche area of experiential plus sustainability plus ecotourism is really picking up, especially with the millennial and new age travelers. And I think working on that theme, V Resorts is a very interesting concept. In fact, I was reading about it, and it's really fascinating how even that V which you have in V Resorts could mean for so many different versions of vacation, view,
Right.
variety and void. It's really interesting how that name came up with. And I think what was also very fascinating to learn was the way the startup pivoted from starting as a budget accommodation play to a more now premium experiential ecotourism, self-sustainable, community-led properties which you have on your platform. And I think V Resorts, for those of you who do not know, is a leisure hospitality brand which is building self-sustainable micro ecosystems in offbeat destinations. And it does that by supporting local communities and making them more sustainable. And Aditi, who is at the helm of affairs for V Resorts, is one of the most inspiring and admired women entrepreneurs in the country, and in fact, even outside India. She has scaled this business from the scratch in the last decade. And before starting her business, she has also worked with some of the largest private equity and venture capital firms like Bearings Private Equity, McKinsey, so on and so forth. She has built it not only organically but by raising external capital. And I think when she started this business, it was just a small business with around a few properties on the platform, and now it's grown significantly. And it actually goes a step further beyond the HomeAway and Airbnb of the world, which we are all aware of. It does so by layering small properties with more professional handling and creating a seamless experience through the use of technology. The venture has raised four successive rounds of capital from institutional investors like the seed fund, Avendus Capital, CDC. In fact, I was reading about you, Aditi, that you also now one of your angel investor yourself through Female Founders, which is a early stage fund for supporting female entrepreneurs. And the overall fundraise which you did in V Resorts is more than 17 million, which is really adorable. And Aditi has also received a lot of accolades such as UNWTO Award for Sustainability, CNBC TV 18 Young Business Women Awards. She is also part of the Women Economic Forum Business World 40 Under 40, and she has built an extensive women network through various forums such as Gwen, Fortune MPW, Cherry Blair Foundation, Massive Incubator for Women, ET Women, and the list goes on and on. And I think a part of your focus now is also, Aditi, I think, to support and nurture and empower more women entrepreneurs around the world, which I think is much needed. I, for myself, work with NASCOM Women in Tech program in supporting more and more women in technology. I think that's a much needed
Fabulous.
initiative which we all need to work towards. So, with this, a very warm welcome to you, Aditi, onto our show. And I'm going to request Ashish to further the conversation with you while I enjoy my coffee.
Thank you, Karthik. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
But thank you for being here today, Aditi. And let's talk about your journey and what were your thoughts behind starting V Resorts from Baring to McKenzie, and as you know. So what went behind that mind?
It's all providence, as I like to call it, because I had gone after McKinsey, I wanted to do my MBA, and I had gone to ISB in Hyderabad. At that time, we didn't have another campus. And after ISB, I decided to, I knew the world of investing. And in fact, I had joined it, before its time, let's say, because in 2004, when I was with Bearings, there were hardly any VCs around. And private equity is the first, sort of industry and term that I got into. So I thought I'll go back to investing. And in fact, the interesting thing is that, ISB started in April. And in May, I got this email from a fund which said that, we are opening shortly and in 2009 December. So can you come and join us? And I said, look, I've just joined my MBA. I won't be free till next April. So the guy said, that's fine. I mean, we'll do all the paperwork and everything and we'll wait for you. So, amazingly, in May, I had a job in my hand. And, I was telling everybody on campus and they were like, wow, yaar, ek mahina hua hai MBA ko, and you've already got a job. So like anybody else, I just wanted to come back to Delhi. That's where I belong. And I came back and I joined this company called Bedrock Ventures. Now that is where we conceptualize the idea of V Resorts, and I'll tell you, how it began. In fact, there's so many developments that I can share later. So, at that time, Airbnb was not yet in India, and we had figured out that people had these second homes and stuff even in India, right? And we actually started with the idea of wanting to become an Airbnb, where very much like them will be a marketplace, and we'll get the customer and we'll get the people who have these homestays, and we'll get them to talk to each other. So it was absolutely like an Indian version of an Airbnb that we thought of, even before, in fact, the budget play that Karthik mentioned. Now, when we started that, we realized, even before actually starting off the platform and the company, we realized that more than homestays, there were all these different commercial properties strewn across offbeat, places that nobody had heard of. So when you talk about Nainital, us time pe to, we're talking 2010, right? So at that time, holiday in India meant Jaipur, Mussoorie, Nainital, those typical Mahabaleshwar, and Kerala. And nobody knew where in Kerala, but Kerala, right? So these were typical, and Goa, of course. So these were typically the places that people went to. And when we started looking at these states, we realized that, forget about Nainital, the city itself or the town itself, but across that district, we found so many properties which had commercial licenses but weren't doing well at all because nobody knew about them. And even at that time, again, this is 2009, 2010, when Make My Trip got their first large funding. So they were also still figuring out their algorithm, right? They were still not doing anything for these offbeat properties. Now, I mean, really, honestly, I must say thanks to Deep Kalra, because he does recognize offbeat properties as a separate category on his platform. So, back in that day, we said, okay, there are all these properties. Now, what can we do for them? And we figured that, let's go after the budget traveler. Honestly, isme bahut zyada thinking nahi thi, okay? Because it was more about, the other guys, the Oyos and the Tribos and all coming, and everybody talking about that budget traveler, that backpacker who had, who would go off very often, and he would travel very often to these offbeat places. So we also went after the same thing, but with a different idea, that instead of taking those homestays, we'll take these commercial properties. Now, the first part of the venture, this is 2012 to 2013, okay? It was absolutely an abject failure, I can tell you. Because what we did realize was that, while the budget segment works very well for the business category traveler, because he's looking at very few things. Usko Wi-Fi chahiye, usko acha kamra chahiye, right? But for the leisure traveler, it was very different. People are looking for a lot more things when they travel for a holiday, right? And look at Indians, yeah, we work very hard. We hardly take holidays. So when we take that holiday, we want to be pampered. We want services. We don't just want to go to a place and then figure out, you're left to your own devices and figure out, ab kya kare yahan pe, right? So we figured that, it doesn't make sense to be a pure aggregator or be a pure marketplace. What we really needed to do for these properties was one to standardize them, because every property looked different. It was according to the whims and fancies of the owners, right? So there had to be certain standardization. No one understood the need for those those thick mattresses, and for a bed to be comfortable, and for a pillow to be comfortable, and two options of pillows. Nobody understood all that in these properties. So we understood that we had to standardize them. And then secondly, we had to build a lot of experiences. So we did standardize, and when we started again getting customers, we saw that, they came to our property, they would stay in our property, but subah agle din they would run away to Nainital. So then we figured, nahi yaar, we have to keep that guy here. We have to make sure that he understands the the local area. He talks to people, and that's where we started thinking about this whole experiential term. It's so amazing that people talk about it today, but experiential word, I used it for the first time in 2014, and an investor told me, "Iska matlab kya hai? What are you even talking about?" And ऐसा कुछ trend ही नहीं है इंडिया में. So I'm like, अच्छा ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. And now we don't need to talk about it because Google has come up with a report on experiential travel. I'm so happy about it. So now I don't need to quote anybody and I don't need to quote myself. I'm like, please look up the reports. Yeah. So that's the way we started V Resorts, and it has seen so many pivots. Honestly, it's seen a lot of different things, a lot of different stages, I would say, in the journey. And just to share with you, we had a management change. We actually got acquired in January this year. And since then, we have, well, let's say we're actually working now on a new concept of, of V Resorts. So it is going to be V Resorts version 5 or 6 or whatever it is, where we are going to focus on ecotourism. Not only focus on it, but also make sure that we're able to map it using an algorithm, using technology, and also at the same time ensure adherence by the owner. So we have a tech audit tool that will help us do that. So it's moving from the erstwhile operationally heavy model to a more tech driven model, which is obviously the need for today, as you see after COVID.
Right, Aditi, I mean, just to, you talked about the journey from 2010, and let me share from the vintage stock that I come from, that hotel distribution itself has been very, very evolved over the years, because you mentioned Make My Trip, but it was in 2006 and 7 that the first enterprise which came across was Dacia as a B2B platform for hotel aggregation. Till then, nobody knew what it meant to be putting them on a technology platform. And thank you, Amit Taneja, for having done that. And as you know, that got acquired by Travel Glue, another pioneer in the hotel space. Absolutely. Of Ashwin Damera, who is now into education field. And then Ashwin then sold out to Travelocity, and Travelocity to Yatra. That's how the journey, and that's how, I guess, at some stage, the other OTA, which is Make My Trip, having sort of surfeited themselves from margins out of the air component, thought hotel was the next game changer for the margin perspective. Yeah. Till a bloodbath came in terms of Ibibo and Make My Trip. So best it was that the two shake hands rather than fight each other. I mean, that's how the hotel journey has evolved even prior to COVID. And I've always felt, and I must share with you, that with meta searches coming, be it my friend Abhinav, who's advertised meta searches in India, or be it Trivago or others, that hotels have been reduced to nothing but geographical location and price points. The virtues of the brand, the virtues of the location, the virtue of experiential, the virtue of the communities are all lost, because when you search, it was the cheapest first, right? So even if you talk about Nainital and I decide to go to Nainital, it always worked about what is the cheapest. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a little journey as far as the hotels are concerned. But I see it that post-COVID, there will be further evolution in the hotel distribution, just as it would be in the other pipeline. But tell us about your financial model. I mean, all this is fine, but do you make your money just distributing hotel properties, or there's more to it?
No, so, earlier when we were managing the property, we had all the models, all the different models. So it would be dependent on the owner himself as to what was preferred by him. We had franchise model, we had management model, we had the revenue share model, all the models that you've come across in hospitality, we've gone through all of them, Right. Now, of course, when we look at technology, we have two things that we will be looking at purely in terms of the financial model. One is, of course, the distribution. And so like any other engine, we'd also look at taking some commission off each booking. Very, very little, because the idea is not to take away from the hotelier. See, I'm propagating ecotourism, and if, the idea is to use large margins and take away that from the hotelier, that makes no sense. So definitely looking at the lowest possible margins that we can take from a hotelier for ourselves. That's one. And then the second more important thing is that we are looking at certifying these places as eco-friendly. Now, that in itself is pretty complicated, because it's not just us. We have 4 different global organizations that will come together, and we will make one certification which will be common, and we are hoping will be common for the entire world, not just for India. So that is something that we're working on, extremely excited about it. You know, so that is something that we will work on. We will charge for at a later time. I don't think COVID is the time for it, because I think everyone is struggling, and I understand, and I'm very cognizant of that. So at the present time, we will help them set it up, and we're going to set up very small. I mean, we're not going to go after the 200 properties that we had earlier. We will set up very small. We'll take 20 different locations, and we'll work on that to help it set up and certify it, you know, at a time when you know, I mean, when things look better, maybe by next March, say. So that's the next part of the journey, and the next thing that we're working on, you know, something which says, you know, like a LEEDs. LEEDs is common for all green buildings. So similarly, we want a common platform, because, you know, honestly, nowadays, actually, aap keh rahe hain ki, you know, this experiential thing, it's actually picked up so much. You just pick up any website, any blogger, you know, they're only talking about experiential. It suddenly becomes such a big thing. Na, सब कुछ एक्सपीरियंस है. क्या है एक्सपीरियंस? एवरीथिंग इज एक्सपीरियंस. खाना भी एक्सपीरियंस है, और वहां पे बाहर बैठना भी एक्सपीरियंस है, धूप में धूप सेकना भी एक्सपीरियंस है. So that category has become, it's actually really become pretty large. Everyone is talking about it, at least in this boutique segment, you know, if I could call it. Maybe not even, in fact, I've heard Marriott is also coming up with a chain like that recently, and yesterday or today, I think Taj was in the news. They're also coming up with an offbeat property category. So everyone is getting into this boutique segment, you know, honestly, and everyone is getting into what I call as experiential. So we have to look forward, and we have to look at the next thing, or the next best thing that can come forth. And frankly, I think, you know, people are, I mean, customers themselves, if you really look at it, everyone is talking about UN SDGs. Everyone is talking about how their company and how their businesses are sustainable. So I think ecotourism will also pick up.
I'm liking this conversation about experiential, because, as you know, I do mentor a lot of startups, and probably, as Karthik and I were talking, at probably 45 or 46 of them on the last count. And believe me, when they call me, the first thing is, sir, we are into experiential holiday. So I act dumb and say, what is the meaning of experience? Just to get an idea of what he means, or is it just a fashionable term, as you know, you're mentioning. But believe me, I mean, it has to go beyond the fashionable terms. So talking about terms, ecotourism is another term I get, you know, thrown at my face, you know, sustainable tourism, ecotourism. And I get down into asking, please define it for me exactly what it means, right? Absolutely. But you seem to have added some more into it, like microtourism. I've heard of microfinancing. Now, what the hell is a microtourism? And circular economy?
Circular economy.
Tell us.
Okay. So yeah, ecotourism again is a loosely used word, okay, and anything can be eco. So let's not get too much into that. I'll talk about what I want to preach, which is microtourism. So microtourism kya hai? Think of a micro supply chain, okay? Earlier kya hota tha that एक आदमी, एक farmer के पास chickens होते थे, वो अंडे देती थी. दूसरे farmer के पास, you know, wheat grow करता था, and then they would barter and exchange, right? Right. So basically kya hota hai that the guy who is, you know, who is looking after the chicken farm, and the guy who is doing the wheat, they're all very near each other. Okay, that guy gives the resources to the other fellow gives back, and basically isse the carbon footprint is the lowest, क्योंकि वो बंदा कहीं गया ही नहीं ना, आपका ट्रक आया ही नहीं उठाने के लिए सामान, right? Now we look at a place where, or look at the current scenario, which is all about mass production, right? So अब क्या होता है, अब ये जो chicken farmers हैं, ये लोग अपने अंडे लेके, they have to go to one particular place जहाँ पे वो congregate होता है, right? So the distribution, the collection is congregated at one space, and then that collection goes to, say, in fact, there are people who will send stuff from Uttarakhand to Delhi also, saying कि ये तो बड़ा organic eggs है, तो ये खाओ, natural eggs हैं, organic eggs हैं, whatever it is, right? Now this is where the carbon footprint has an issue. Why? Because obviously, just think about it. वो सबसे पहले तो सारे आदमी एक जगह पे आ रहे हैं, तो वो भी किसी से ट्रैक्टर में बैठ के आ रहा है, कोई कुछ बैठ के आ रहा है, तो carbon emissions हो रहे हैं. And then the second guy who is delivering, the logistics guy. In fact, logistics honestly is a big contributor to to the carbon emissions. That guy itself is obviously also contributing. So this concept of mass production, and mass production is counter to carbon emissions. That's the whole thing. So what do we do in micro tourism? Micro tourism means आपने दिल्ली से अपने IHM के लोग नहीं भेजे उस जगह पे, छोटी सी जगह पे. So we'll take an example. I'll take a small offbeat place called Satal. I love talking about it. It's actually a very pretty place also. And now, very sadly to tell you, there are lots and lots of hotels there. So जब हम लोग थे, we were the only ones at that time. In 2014 even, we were the only commercial property along with a KMVN that was in Satal. Anyway, now, so basically what we do is we first pull in all the resources from that center. So we don't need to go, we're not bringing people from Delhi to that place. So what does it ensure? It ensures employment. Now, obviously, to your question, was standardized kaise karoge yaar? They are not trained. They are not trained in hospitality. So absolutely correct. We have to train them, and that is where some of the money and some of the resources are used. Okay. Now, once these guys get employment, think about the women at home. They are still at home, they're doing nothing. So we get together with them. We figure out there must be everywhere there is some local craft, some local thing that's happening. Think of Kumaon, तो वहाँ पे achars बन रहे हैं, jams बन रहे हैं, all that stuff is happening, right? So we get them together. We ask them what their local trade of choice is, and we help them with the packaging. So we actually develop those local products. उससे क्या होता है? जो प्रॉपर्टी में आता है वो ही खरीद सकता है. I don't need to sell them again on the internet where the delivery is an issue. And I don't need to send them. So that's another thing, right? Similarly, I mean, we actually have a lots of steps there. There are basically, just to let you know, 18 SDGs, and we follow all the SDGs. So the concept of ecotourism or microtourism is basically that you are in all the resources that you use in that hotel are all drawn from that 100 kilometers ka radius. And it is defined as the 100 kilometers ka radius. हम लोग तो we don't even go beyond 30 kilometers in terms of radius. So the people come from there, the resources come from there. अब वो छोटे से markets होते हैं, किराना stores, right? आपकी property में तो आप mustard भी use कर रहे हो, ketchup भी use कर रहे हो, tabasco भी use कर रहे हो. So we actually train them कि भैया ये सारी चीजें हमारे लिए stock करो, so that we can buy directly from that guy. Advantage again, the guy gets income, his income is guaranteed. We don't have to go far to pick up anything. So win-win for both. That's the best thing about this model, honestly, it's just a win-win for everyone. It keeps your own costs low, so the hotels break even faster, and it really creates impact at the local. So similarly, things like, say, there are certain things you cannot do, like say linen. Now linen is something, uski quality hoti hai, uska grade hota hai, all that. We still try and find people within 100 kilometers radius. Now, once that linen gets spoiled, there are lots and lots of things you can do with it. You can dye it, you can create bags, you can, cut smaller portions out, give it back to the villagers. There are 100 things you could do with that linen. So that's what we do. And that is what is called as circularity. कि उसी की जगह की जो चीजें हैं वो वापस उन्हीं को चली जाती हैं. And wastage is the lowest possible. Yeah. So that's basically
interesting. So maybe a few years from now, I might see you starting a Amul-like movement for achars. Look, like, all the ladies make their achars.
I really hope not few years from now, maybe sooner.
Right. So do you actually have any case studies to prove all that in a very short perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So
and what would they point towards?
Yeah, we mapped out that in one property with say 10 rooms, we were creating an annual value of impact at the local level, which would be around $1 million. So if you look at $1 million in one property, imagine if you had 1,000 properties, you get to that 1 billion figure very quickly, right? Impact is super because impact is coming from everywhere. It's coming from local entrepreneurship, it's coming from sale of products, from jobs, from activities, from everywhere. So it's basically that impact maps out to about $1 million. And that's why that was one of the reasons why we also got that UNWTO award and stuff, because for them, they said that, we've seen sustainable models developing from the developed nations, where they spend a lot of money on capex, but we haven't seen something which needs no money to implement.
Right. I mean, this was my thought on a global model, that perhaps continents like Africa, continents like etc. is the right fit for the Indian
Correct.
So do you have aspirations on a global side for it?
Oh, this time for sure. This time we are not going to be looking just at India. We are going to be looking at all the geographies across around India as well. So all the places that Indians usually travel to, or Southeast Asia, Middle East, all those places.
Good.
Basically, the model is proven better when it is a developing economy. When it is a developed economy, think about America, for instance. वहाँ पे तो किराना स्टोर ही नहीं है, वहाँ पे वो टारगेट भी वहीं पे है.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So वहाँ पे it doesn't work so well.
Right. So this is called local for global. And I think the government of India and the Prime Minister will be very pleased about all this.
Yeah.
But so before we conclude, and being an entrepreneur yourself, some inspiring words for people going forward on the entrepreneur journey? And how do you see investment landscape scaling up for startups in the future? Okay, leaving aside the short-term COVID.
No. Even with COVID, I would like to say that, given that even COVID is there these days, even a thing like a travel startup can start. And travel is the biggest hit industry, right? So it is a great time to be an entrepreneur. It's a great time to be a woman entrepreneur, by the way. I must tell you that. I just had a panel today on women entrepreneurs, and it is really a good time to come forth because a lot of funds have come up who are just looking at women entrepreneurs. A lot of incubators, accelerators have come up that are looking at it, and everyone is starting their cohort in 1st December, 1st January. So right now the support system is very strong, and it's a great time for startups. I mean, there is nobody who's not got funding due to COVID. Nothing like that has ever happened. Everyone understands that projections are lower, income has been hit. Everyone understands that, even the investors. So I would say for startups, it's a great time to come forth and ask for investment. In fact, not only that, the fund managers, they have a lot of time right now. They are happy to come on a Zoom. Otherwise, fund managers milte nahi the. You would always be talking to some junior level analyst and you'd never get FaceTime with the fund manager. But this is definitely changing right now, and it's a very good time. I mean, people must definitely come forth.
Yeah, just to mention here on women and employment and entrepreneurs, if you look at the travel and tourism industry, over the last many years, you would notice, if you do a study, that women who work, you see a lot of women who work in the travel industry, but you don't see the many women who leave the travel industry. When they hit marriageable age, if I may use that word, not sounding feminist at all, they move away because either they moved away with their spouses to another location, or they think they shouldn't be working, or they have a family way, but they are ready to work back at the age of 45. When the kids have grown back, etc. They still have that expertise. They still have the desire, and travel and tourism is a space they could be. They could be still in Orissa or Balasore or wherever they could be. I see, but they are still disconnected because they worked till they're 28 or 30. Then they were disconnected from 30 to 45. When 45 to maybe working age of 58, 60, they are ready to work. I think there's a great opportunity to motivate, skill them back, bring them back into the main fold, and work from anywhere, work out of home, work from anywhere. I think you can foster a whole breed of women entrepreneur of that age. What do you say?
Absolutely, because
is that practical thinking?
We actually see. First of all, I want to say, even I tried to leave the travel industry, and I got very depressed because travel industry is like a drug. Who wouldn't want to work here? Yeah? What are you doing? You're looking at new places. You're looking at wonderful photos. Travel industry is about selling happiness. I always say that. So obviously, why would anybody want to sell, a product? Kal ko yaar, hum to khushi bech rahe hain. So I would never want to, and I guess all women must feel the same way. That said, training की कोई जरूरत ही नहीं होती. They are really hospitable themselves, already hospitable. So they make wonderful managers. I have some resort managers who are women, and those properties, honestly, I'm telling you, I mean, it's really not biased. They did so well. उनको ट्रेनिंग नहीं जरूरत. They know कि ये गंदा है, ये साफ. उनकी आई बहुत स्ट्रांग होती है. घर पे भी वही करते हैं. But honestly, like when I go to a resort, मैं तो उसको ऐसे ही देखती हूँ जैसे मैं अपने घर को देखती हूँ. So it's in our nature. It is the best industry to be for women, I would say.
So well, that's been an interesting discussion, Aditi, and I thank you for coming. And I'm going to pass you back to Karthik. Should he have one last minute something to ask you?
Okay.
But Karthik, you can beep the D word. Should somebody in Bombay be listening? All right, go ahead.
Aditi, I have a small question, and I think I asked this when Mandeep ji was also here. That sometimes when people who are working in ecotourism and sustainable tourism, and they work in those communities, it's always a bit of a moral dilemma, right? Because you build that ecosystem in that area, and then a lot of people start coming to that area to build on top of that ready infrastructure, and that offbeat destination no longer remains pretty off, right? So how do you handle that as a entrepreneur?
मैंने कितना struggle किया है इसके साथ, you can't believe it.
Hmm.
I can give you case studies of all. We had 25 properties which were offbeat in 2015, and you have to see उनकी दशा देखने लायक है आज की डेट में. इतनी सारी properties आ गई हैं. Even Satala, I mean, it's no longer quaint. अब see, the point is, इसमें हम क्या कर पाएंगे? इसमें तो government को step in करना पड़ेगा, right? And there is such a, I mean, we have a, अपने neighborhood में case study है यार. We just have to look at Bhutan. I mean, they are so passionate about the term overcrowding and over tourism. And I think that is something that we have to look at. But I don't know where, I think we're so far behind even looking at tourism that वो over tourism तो मेरे हिसाब से I don't know अगर कोई देख रहा है इस time पे, unfortunately. Very sad about it, but you are absolutely right.
Just to add here to both of you, a few years ago, I did a project for one of the aerial ropeways people, Usha Breco, which is a subsidiary of Usha Martin Industries, who carry people from the foot to up on the hill for the temple religious movement in Mansa Devis and Chandi Devi in Haridwar and Gujarat. And whereas they started on a build, operate, transfer to put the trolleys to go up, you should see the amount of business which mushroomed for everybody because the trolley started. There was a photographer selling something. There was a guy you could dress up in fancy dress. There was prasad being sold. There was malas being sold. And, before you realize, there was a whole entrepreneur journey started for many because some aerial ropeways was built. But that's a fact. You can't stop it, Karthik. And that will happen again on the road transportation, because we are talking about infrastructure being developed on the road, the more better dhabas coming or place to stop. The moment you do that, there'll be other people selling potato wafers and pans or whatever is around the place.
Of course. It's already there. It's already for us to see.
Yeah. And that's entrepreneurship, I guess.
That's India, actually. So, I mean, we are the economy. We have the people, and it's going to happen. So.
Great. So I think with this, we are at the end of today's session. Thank you so much, Aditi, for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And thanks, Ashish, as always. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. And we'll see you next Saturday. Thanks again, Aditi.
All right, Aditi.